This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by Alex Barth.
That's a fit. That's a match.
No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
This is a trend. They are a slow starting defense.
22.
They get beat by the script.
Yeah.
Then the game declares. I have seen on film, they do get better as the game wears on. The coverage improves. As a result, the pass rush is improving throughout the entire game. They have a good run defense. They're not giving up much on the ground. Their defense post-script is a top 10 defense in the NFL. Well, same exact formula this week, Alex.
Can we say they have a type yet?
It's funny, and I think about this way too much because I think about all this stuff way too much of like how much does their early game struggles really matter? Because if they keep on just closing the door on the third drive on from the game,
Right.
and they give up, I don't know, even in a bad day, let's say they give up 14 points early in the game on back-to-back drives. If they don't give up any points the rest of the game, then Drake Maye is going to score 17 and they're going to win the game. So it's just like, I don't know how much any of it matters, but their script versus non-script, we'll get into that in a little bit, is crazy, the splits. They're like literally worst to first. Like they're the worst defense in the league in the beginning of the game, and they're the best defense in the league in the second half. It's pretty incredible. Anyways, jumping right into it. Alex Barth, Evan Lazar, Patriots Catch-22, with you for the next couple of hours here talking Patriots football. I was all prepared, Alex, to talk about this Browns game, the good, the bad, the stuff that gets you beat from this game against Cleveland. And then last night, or yesterday, I should say, really, starting around noon with the Marcus Jones extension, the Patriots has made a lot of news.
Busy day, yeah.
They all of a sudden had a busy day. So I want to start with the news of the day yesterday with the 3 transactions. And then we'll also get into this Browns game. And then I do want to talk a little bit about the Falcons because I find the Falcons to be a pretty fascinating team.
They are.
Because I look at them on paper and I say, it's a good football team. They got some star power. They got a lot of skill talent on the offensive side of the ball. Bijan Robinson, maybe the best running back in football this year, but they don't win. They're 3-4, and they're this Jekyll and Hyde operation. So I do want to talk a little bit of Falcons in the second hour, but let's start with the news. I want to start with the good news first, and then we'll get to the 2 trades and discuss those and unpack those. Marcus Jones gets a contract extension yesterday with the Patriots, a 3-year deal. Reportedly around $12 million annually, somewhere around there. Really good deal for both sides. Right around the, let's call it the median of the top 10 slot corners in football. Most of those guys getting between $12 and $15 million a year, so he comes right around there with that number. I think this is really a big news for the Patriots because when you looked at their 2026 free agency class, his name, along probably with Tonga and Chason, stood up above the rest of, they got to take care of these guys and they got to get these guys under contract beyond this season. So the Patriots get out in front of it. One of the best slot corners in football this year and one of the best punt returners in football really for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So a really good football player, and Marcus Jones does it the right way, team captain. I don't really have anything else to add other than I thought this was a really shrewd move and a good thing for the Patriots to keep him around.
Yeah, good deal. They don't have to reset the market to bring back a player that I think is really a testament to the job this coaching staff has done and how quickly the adjustment has happened here. Because I think, back in the summer, there were some questions about how good of a fit is Marcus Jones in this defense. People were wondering about his roster standing and if he could make the team, and are they going to want a bigger slot corner? And I think he worked on different areas of his game that maybe we didn't see as much in the past to fit into this new role. And then I think the coaches kind of changed that role a little bit from what it traditionally is in this defense to more fit him. And they kind of met in the middle, and the result is a guy having a tremendous season. And that's not even to mention what he gives you on special teams as a punt returner. So to get this done, not reset the market doing it, and it you mentioned some of the free agents. I think he was going to be in a tier of his own going into this offseason.
Yeah.
In terms of their internal free agents. Like Kayvon Chason, the full list I have here, Kayvon Chason, Kairos Tonga, Austin Hooper, Jack Gibbons, Jalen Hawkins, Vidarian Lowe, and then they have some restricted free agents or whatever. But those are the unrestricted guys. That's a group. I mean, we'll see what happens with Chase on down the stretch, but that's a group that they should be able to take care of relatively easily. You're not really going to have to cover any new ground, I would think, re-signing any of those guys. And you want that to-do list in terms of the internal guys to be as short as possible going into the offseason. So when that Monday in March hits, boom, you're on the phone with new players, right? So to get this done when they got it done, check that box, I think is very encouraging.
You bring up a good point about the scheme fit and some doubt this offseason about whether or not he was the right type of slot corner for this defense. And Mike Vrabel said it. They preferred in the past bigger slots, kind of slot safety types that could, fit the run and set the edge and be the force. The big reason why is because of the way they're stopping the run.
Right.
From a fit perspective, the nickel corner and the safeties now have more responsibilities in the run fit to set the edge of the defense or to be the force in the defense to push the ball, back inside. And when you put a 5'8", 190-pound, 180-pound slot corner at the point of attack, you worry about his ability to hold up against a run. But to his credit, Marcus Jones plays a lot bigger than his size would indicate. And he's willing to stick his nose in there. He's fearless. He's willing to set the edge. He's willing to take on blocks. Now, in terms of the longevity of this contract, you do kind of worry a little bit about his health and him holding up playing like this for 3 more years. But that's a issue for down the line and not an issue for this season. And I don't really think next season either. Like maybe that becomes something that we're talking about in like the end of the contract in 27 or 28.
Right. Well, he's also, and it's through his age 30 season. It's not like they're asking him to do this at 32, 33 years old.
Yeah. Just between playing as much as he is on defense, right around 75% of the snaps on defense, and then also returning punts as a full-time punt returner. Something as this contract kind of matures is just to watch, in terms of that, but nothing but good things to say in terms of Marcus Jones, the person, the player on and off the field, has really become a captain and a leader for this defense, tone setter for this defense. And he's playing terrific football this season, basically by every statistic, number 1 in the league in passer rating among slot corners, number 1 in the league in terms of interceptions by slot corners, pass defense, really having a great year playing inside. And it's a good thing that, they locked him up. Now, in terms of the trades, I think let's start with Kyle Duggar. So the Patriots send Kyle Duggar for a pick swap to Pittsburgh. And just really, before we kind of unpack both trades, like I just want to put this out there, and I'm not carrying anybody's water, but if you think that the Patriots turned down better offers, like I know these returns come back and people are shocked by how little they got back for these 2 players. I promise you that if there was bigger returns out there for Kyle Duggar and Keon White, the Patriots would have taken them. Like if somebody was offering them a 3rd-round pick for Keon White, they were not going to ship him to San Francisco for a pick swap. Like they were going to take the 3rd-round pick. So they put these guys out on the market. Kyle Duggar has been available really since the offseason probably and since at least training camp. And they've been scouring for trade partners for these 2 players and haven't really been able to find one until now. So I don't think that their markets were very robust, which is disappointing, but that's just the reality of the situation. When I look at the Kyle Duggar trade, what I see is trying to get out of paying him in 2026 and 2027. He had a lot of money due left on that extension that he signed last offseason. And so by making this trade, they free up about $7 million next year and then $17 million, I believe it is, in 2027. Now, I'm not necessarily too caught up in the cap space of it all. I'm more looking at the actual cash in this situation, where if you are looking, you're Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf and Ryan Cowden, and you're looking to add players to this roster, whether it's before the deadline on Tuesday or next offseason, not having to pay Kyle Duggar's money now allows you to allocate that $10 million someplace else, whether it's now or next offseason. So it's always about the cash with these NFL teams. They have plenty of cap space. It's not a cap space maneuver. But what it does allow them to do now is maybe go and take that money and package it to go get another player, whether it's now or down the road. So when I look at the Duggar trade, that's really what this is about to me, is getting out of what ended up being, for their system and all that kind of stuff, a little bit of a bad contract.
Yeah, I mean, well, they were paying a backup safety $15 million.
Yeah.
That's just not good business. And
Right.
just to bring it back to what we talked about with Marcus Jones, they have more financial flexibility now. And like we said, they don't have a ton to do in terms of internal free agents. Now, there are some guys that are, you can maybe get ahead with on extensions. Christian Gonzalez is going to be eligible. Kayshon Boutte is going to be eligible. Drake Maye, not yet, but you keep that in mind. That's coming down the road. So they just, it gives them some more flexibility to either get ahead on some extensions or work the external free agent market or what have you. I will add, I thought it was interesting when I was talking with David Andrews on Monday. He mentioned, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves now, but he just brought this up. I hadn't really thought of it. And did you hear what Myles Garrett said about Drake Maye after the game?
I mean, a little bit of it. I don't remember what it was.
He was very, very complimentary. He said he's proud of Drake Maye.
Yeah.
I went back and looked. I'm like, do they have a relationship that he's talking about him like this? So
I think they were at the Pro Bowl together.
Okay.
Last year.
Look, Myles Garrett's probably not going to be available just for a number of different reasons, but they're going to have an easier time recruiting players here than they've had in the past because of Drake Maye. So that financial flexibility, people hear that and be like, well, they got to get free agents. I think it's going to be easier than it's been in the past.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, the biggest thing to me when it comes to free agents and all that next offseason is you spent a lot of money this past offseason.
Yeah.
And this is just, again, this is universal across the board in sports. When you have a big spending spree one offseason, you usually don't go out and spend $300 million more the next offseason. It's just not how it works.
But I mean, there's happy medium between the two, right? Maybe you don't have the whole spree, but you make one splash signing.
Sure. I'm just telling you, I don't expect them to go out.
I don't think they're going to be the
offseason
biggest spenders in free agency for 2 years in a row.
Right. That's just not how it works in any sport.
No.
So I don't expect that to happen. Now, last thing on Duggar, because I do think that there is conversations both with him and Jabril Peppers, who ironically are now going to play together in Pittsburgh, about why exactly we got here, specifically to Kyle Duggar. One element of this is definitely scheme, which we can get to here in a second. But I also think that ankle injury last year that he tried to play through and then had off-season surgery on it this past off-season, he just hasn't gotten the explosiveness that we saw early on in his career. He's not necessarily moving as well as he once did. And I don't know if that's ever going to fully recover. I hope it does for his sake, but I don't know if that's ever going to fully recover. And we see this happen sometimes. You have to reinvent yourself. One guy that did is obviously Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah.
Credit to him. Kayshon Boutte early on at LSU was an explosive, catch and run threat. And then he had that really bad ankle injury in college, didn't really get that gear back, and has said so publicly that he's had to adjust his game. So whether Kyle Duggar becomes a linebacker, whether Kyle Duggar becomes just a situational player like he was here for the rest of his career, I don't know. But that ankle injury, I think, derailed a lot of things because I think he was a good football player pre-ankle injury. The other thing is, of course, is the way that they're scheming it right now defensively in terms of playing a lot of a zone coverage, specifically a lot of too deep zone coverage, more than they ever have in the, let's call it the last decade or so. Obviously, it's not a Bill defense anymore, and it's very different from that. So they just wanted types of safeties like Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson, who are faster, cover more ground on the back end, can play those deep safety zones, and that's just not really Kyle Duggar's game. So he kind of was phased out from a scheme perspective in this defense, and then I do think he's probably lost half a step from that ankle injury as well, and those two things kind of came together that led to his demise here with the Patriots. Keion White, the other one, traded last night. The thing about Keion White that stood out to me both from a play style perspective and then also just from an optics perspective. I like Keon White. I never had any issues with Keon White. I don't know if Keon White's the type of guy that you want to be disgruntled in your locker room. Like if he's not playing and he's not doesn't have a role, Keon White is one of those guys that's really intense, that's really confident in his abilities and wants to play. And the Niners had a need on the edge. They have lost some bodies on their defensive line this season to injuries. The Patriots had the opposite, where Keon White was sort of being pigeonholed into a role that really didn't fit his skill set, trying to develop him into a true 4-3 defensive end, playing the 7 or the 9 technique all the way outside the tackle. His movement skills, he's just too rigid. He's too stiff. He's not bendy enough. He doesn't have that first step to turn the corner out there. He is a much better interior pass rusher, but the Patriots, that's probably their deepest position on this roster. And Christian Barmore and Milton Williams, as long as those two guys stay healthy, are not coming off the field.
Right.
So he's a little too small to play inside on early downs. He's a little bit too big and stiff to play outside on early downs. They don't really have a third down pass rush role for him because Milton Williams and Barmore are in that role. So unless they're really all he was doing on this roster was serving as injury insurance in case somebody got hurt. And there just wasn't enough playing time for him. So if I'm the Niners, and I don't think they're going to based off of some of the reporting out of San Francisco, but the role for Keon White is third down interior pass rush. Like that's his specialty. When he gets to rush over the guard one-on-one on the inside in pass rush situations, he's a very disruptive player. The further you move him outside away from the football, the worse it gets. And I just don't think that they really had a role. Like when you look at Chason and Landry and how they rush the passer and how they move out on the edge, that is a very different athlete and a very different kind of player than what they had with Keon White. So they're just, again, it's a scheme thing. There wasn't really a role for him. So they end up sending him out to San Francisco. But another trade that they really didn't get a ton of return for their investment here.
Yeah, this is one where I thought they might be able to get a little bit more. Now, there was some reporting this morning from Tom Pelissero that it's not guaranteed to be a pick swap. If Keon White's active for 7 games, I would assume that means 7 games with the Niners, not 7 games total this season. Then the Patriots keep their 7th round pick, and it just becomes Keon White for 6th, which is not a ton, but it's obviously better. Yeah, it sucks because this is a guy that was talented, and I think came here at a time where just they were not in a spot to develop him, and 3 coaches in 3 years and changing roles, and he dealt with some injuries. He had a concussion as a rookie, the illness this year, and just got passed over. So I don't think we've heard the last of Keon White in the NFL. I think he'll be a solid player if he ends up in the right spot, and there's a ton of opportunities for him in San Francisco because they're very banged up, both on the edge and on the inside, but he really didn't have a role here, and I think a change of scenery was best, and now I wonder if the Patriots go out and try to find another team's Keon White. And we've seen what they've done with Kayvon Chason, a guy that was a high draft pick that just really couldn't stick anywhere, and nobody figured out the right way to use him, right way to develop him, and they seem to have unlocked something there. And the one thing when I look, it's the NFL trade deadline, so you take it all with a grain of salt, although this has felt, the Patriots did last night, that felt like a MLB, NHL, NBA trade deadline kind of thing. But, the one constant I kind of see when you look at all the rumors is there might be like a number of young edge rushers available. Some of the names you see out there, like Arnold Ebiketie, Azeez Ojulari, Jalen Phillips. I don't know if he's going in the division, but Boye Mafe. I don't really know why the Seahawks would trade him, but I've seen his name out there. There's one more that I'm blanking on off the top of my head, but these guys that are in their mid-20s that were first-round picks or high draft picks, whatever you want to call it, who just for one reason or another have not been able to stick, have not been able to make it work. Arden Key was another one. He's a little bit older. He's 29, but
I could see that, a Tennessee guy.
Do they bring in a guy like that, even if it's on an expiring contract, with the idea that they're going to re-sign him and try to develop him and work him as a pass rusher? Maybe he's a better scheme fit than what Keon White was, but that same idea, a guy that just isn't a fit with his current team, but still has some physical tools.
So we talk a little bit about it at running back in terms of needing 3. I think you need 3 edge rushers on game day.
Well, they have 3,
but you need 3 guys that you trust to play on the edge, because you don't want to play those guys 100% of the snaps. You want to be able to mix in and rotate a little bit with Landry and Chase on. Jennings has rotated a little bit in this game against Cleveland. Getting a third guy that maybe fits a little bit better than Jennings, I think
situationally, you have Jennings on early downs, like he's 3A, not even 3A and 3B, and then you have like your third early down guy, and then you have your third pass rush guy. And right now, what they're doing at running back with Terrell Jennings, you mentioned the running back situation. Maybe there's a comp here. Maybe we want to clear the runway for Elijah Ponder and see what he has. We want to clear the runway for Caleb Murphy and see what he has. He was pass rushing a little more with the Chargers before he got cut. I was going to say maybe this is where Braden Swinson factors in. Could have been Truman Jones if he didn't get signed. But, maybe it's as simple as that. The question is, are they just going to reset the rotation, bring one of those guys in? Or are they trying to upgrade the rotation and go out and get one of those names that I mentioned?
Yeah, I think that, just to wrap it up on all these trades, I think the biggest thing about all these things is that
I have one more trade take after this. Sorry, continue.
We're learning a lot about Vrabel's types at these various positions and just pulling it up really quickly. And this is big on our show because we're going to talk about this all draft season and all off season as well. Harold Landry is clearly his dream edge rusher, right? And just in terms of body type.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure there could be a higher ceiling guy out there, but just in terms of the way he's built.
On that side.
I think in either side, because I think him and Chase on are pretty similar. So Landry's 6'2", 250. So not the 6'3", 275 that Keon White is.
Right.
And then I would also say the two skill sets that are really 1A and 1B above everything else with their edge rusher archetype is get off, first step explosiveness, and bend. Like if you can't do those two things, if you can't get off the ball and bend and turn the corner, that's not their type of guy. They want guys that can get off the ball both against the run and against the pass, because they're spilling in their run fits, and so they're crashing the end down inside and trying to get the ball to bounce to the outside. So it's different. They're not boxing the ends anymore like they did in the Belichick system, where they're funneling the ball back inside, a la Anthony Jennings, right? Who's going to just sit out there and hold the tackle on the outside and force the ball back inside. They want guys that are coming off the ball. They want guys that are winning, to the spot in the run game, like to the point of attack in the run game. When there's a puller from the other side of the formation, they want to be able to get there first. So that's not Keon White's game. That's not really Anthony Jennings' game. It's Landry and Chason's game, and those are their guys. So once we start looking in the market for who could be available both at the trade deadline and the next offseason to add some depth at that position, I'm basically canceling out anybody in the mold of a White or a Jennings. I think those guys are totally off the table for what they want to do from a front mechanic perspective on the edge. So if you're looking for archetypes, if you're looking for fits, like it's the Landrys of the world, it's the Chasons of the world, like those are the types of guys that they want. So I look at, some of the names that you mentioned, although it's not like truly splashy, like Arden Key, I think comes to mind as a guy that fits exactly what that does. I think that he was in Tennessee with Vrabel for a year. 2023, he was in Tennessee with Vrabel. So a guy that he's familiar with a little bit, veteran player, fits the mold, fits the suit, right at 6'5", 240. Like that's exactly what they're looking for. So I think that there's a lot of things to learn both at safety, but also in terms of the edge rushing that is different. They're not setting the edge of the defense the way they used to anymore. They want these guys up the field. They want these guys spilling. They want these guys forcing the ball outside and bouncing the football. So they want guys that can get off the ball. And, that's the difference between, why is Jennings not playing as much? Why is Keon White now traded? That's why. So it's an interesting sort of exercise to understand. And they seem very locked in to these types. Like it doesn't seem like there's much wiggle room. I think the only guy so far that's convinced them otherwise is Marcus Jones. Other than that, they are really, really stringent and like kind of sticking to their principles in terms of what they look for. What's your last take there?
One more. So I don't know if you want to do other trade deadline take, but one more trade deadline thought I have. We were texting about this a little last night, and I think I won you over on this, which I didn't think I was going to be able to. So they have to add another edge rusher, whether it's Braden Swinson from the practice squad or trading for somebody or signing for like just bodies. They need another guy.
Sure.
They're going to need another running back on the roster. We know that. And they already added a safety. They signed last night. I'm blanking on his name off the Dolphins practice squad.
Josh.
Yeah, John Saunders. So
I said Josh.
John Saunders. So
apologies.
they're going to need, they already added, they have one spot they need to add an edge rusher and a running back. So there's some more shuffling coming. There's one other position I'd really like to see them add, and this could maybe overlap with running back. I would like to see them add a kick returner. And if that means you do a 6-7 pick swap again, and you turn one of those 6 into a 7th, people are probably going to scream bloody murder that I'm saying trade for a kick returner. I think it matters. I think it matters to the extent when you have 10, 11 draft picks, you can make that move. Here's why. You asked last night, what is the difference between the best returners and the worst returners in the NFL? The best kick returners in the NFL, top 5, 6, 7 guys, are all averaging about 30 yards per return.
Yeah.
The league average is 25.5. The guys at the bottom of the list among qualifying returners are closer to 20. They're just a tick over 20. So you talk about the Patriots since Antonio Gibson got hurt are averaging 23.8 yards per return. They were up near 30 before that. You're talking about 7 to 10 yards per return. Per how many returns are you going to have in a game? Say 3 to 4 to be conservative. That's 40 yards of field position that you're potentially leaving on the table. People may roll their eyes at that. If you look at there's 8 teams right now that are over 500 in the AFC. Let's just call that group playoff contenders for the time being, for what it is. 6 of those 8 teams have a kick returner that ranks in the top half of the league, that is above average. One of the teams, the Chargers, doesn't, only because none of their kick returners have enough returns to qualify for the leaderboard. They rotate guys. So when you're going up against these teams that are in the playoff hunt, or even ideally when you play them in the playoffs, they're going to have that field position advantage. They have that kind of kick returner. The Patriots, Henderson's been better, but remember, they said a couple weeks ago, if Travion Henderson's going to play a bigger role in the offense, they don't necessarily want him returning kicks because they don't want him taking on that physical toll. You would hope after what he did against the Falcons, he is going to play a bigger role in the offense moving forward. Efton Chisholm, still think he has some upside as a receiver. He's not an NFL kick returner at this point. So you look at the top kick returners in the league, ironically, most of them are receivers. So they may have to be heavy at wide receiver if they were to do this. But I would count it to, we had 7 receivers active, but one was Matthew Slater. So I look at the top kick returners in the league. Now, maybe they double dip and they do the running back thing. I've been big on Jerome Ford.
Yeah.
As a guy that could help you out with that. And now, boom, he's your third running back and your kick returner. Dylan Laube would be a guy on a bad Raiders team. He hasn't played a ton of offense. He's mainly just been a kick returner in his career. He's played more offense this year than last year. Would you be comfortable with him as your third running back? Isaiah Davis. I don't think the Jets would trade Breece Hall in the division. Would they trade his backup? But, there are some receivers that are up there on bad teams. Greg Dortch on Arizona. Would they be willing to part ways with him? If again, in division trade, but Dwayne Eskridge in Miami is in the last year of his contract. He's averaging 27 yards a return. And the one other name I'll throw out there, I'm not saying this because he's a former Patriot. I'm literally just looking who are the best kick returners who are on bad teams who might part with them, especially the guys on expiring contracts. Gunnar Olszewski's a top 5 kick returner in the NFL right now. He's averaging 28.3 yards per return. Do you go out and get him? And he doesn't need to play a snap a wide receiver, but to re-bolster that kick return unit. Again, I know it's a little bit of a bananas take. I get that. I actually think there's real value in this that people may not realize because of the new kick return rules.
Okay, so the average starting field position in the NFL right now after kickoff.
Yeah.
Detroit leads the league. And they are at, they have, what's his name? Returning kickoffs. I can't remember.
He's good. I have the list here. Hang on.
They're
Jacob Sailors, right?
Their average starting field position is the 35.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings are the last place team in this stat in the league. Their average field position is the 27. So we're talking about from the worst team in the league to the best team in the league, about an average of 8 yards per kickoff return. So I know I agree with you. I know to the most people that doesn't sound like a lot.
Right.
It can be a lot.
You got to extrapolate that over multiple kickoffs.
Right.
And let's say it's the end of the game, right? Or even the end of the half, and you're trying to get down and get a field goal. Those 8 yards are going to be massive.
So I think the biggest thing to me, though, is that, and this is a much longer philosophical discussion that I don't know if I want to have right now, but the biggest thing to me right now with the kickoff return rules is it's not having the exact impact that we thought it would. There's no explosive returns. So Antonio Gibson's touchdown return is still the only one in the NFL, I believe, this season on a kickoff.
Yes.
So they're not getting the big returns off of this new rule, but getting the 30-yard line is now kind of the goal on these kickoff returns, and that has proven to be a little bit harder than maybe you expected because really there's no space out there. Like they build a wall across the field with their 10 guys that they're allowed to build, and there's really it's a very hard play to block, and it's a very hard play to return. So it's actually turned out to be the opposite effect. It's kind of pinning teams more than it is actually having big returns. So now gaining the 30 plus is like now an advantage. Like if you can do that, you're swinging about 10 yards of field position compared to your opponent.
Also, just the threat of having somebody back there, and you see how it forces teams into bad decisions, like trying those what are they called?
Dirty kicks.
The dirty kicks, and that comes up short. We saw that happen, against Buffalo. So I think you need somebody back there that is going to be a factor. And if they're not going to put Travion Henderson back there, which I'm not necessarily, if they want to give him the ball 15, 20 times a game, I'm fine if he's not returning kicks. But you got to have somebody back there that's a factor and not just, well, he won't fumble. And they have 4 6th-round picks. You turn one of those into a 7th to add a kick return. If he breaks off one big return,
who's arguing with
late
you?
in the
I
year,
feel like you're like stumping for this take, like everybody's disagreeing.
I feel like saying trade for a kick. I know, what, it's weird. Ever since I've had this take, I feel like I've had to strongly defend it because it just seems like the kind of classic Barth take. That's
is a classic.
You want to
Barth
trade
take
for a kick returner, but
I don't mind trading for a kick returner, but
also I feel like throwing Gunnar Olszewski out there is going to get some
we
people
are
riled
talking about 8 to 10 yards of field position. We're not talking about 20. So
right,
let's not overrated.
It's per return.
I hear you.
I just think having the threat back there is a factor.
I hear you.
It would be kind of funny if they traded for Gunnar Olszewski.
One last trade deadline take that I just am thinking about over here as we're talking about these possibilities. I know nothing, but I do feel like we are seeing the Patriots kind of clear a runway for a trade here. So I would expect them to try to add somebody by Tuesday. I'm not telling you it's going to be, Trey Hendrickson or like something.
No, I mean, they have to.
But it does feel like you get some picks back for these two players that were depreciated assets that you didn't have roles for to maybe open the door for them to acquire a player. It also feels that way to me because they did it a week in advance. If they had done this on Tuesday, then maybe that would have been a little bit different. But the fact that they did it so early tells me that this is like a preemptive
Feels like
strike.
a setup.
Yeah. To something else. So we'll see what it ends up being. I know there's a lot of big names that always get floated around the trade deadline. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't. Like this is not the NBA or the MLB where you see like star players moved at the deadline in football too often. There's a lot of trades, but they're not usually trades of consequence, if that makes sense. Like you're not going to see a ton of Luka Doncic trades in the NFL. It just doesn't happen in season very often, but maybe that'll change this year. We're going to talk about the Browns, but before we do, hey, Patriots fans, we want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV. Go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals for the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go places. And football fans know that traditions matter, turning moments together into something truly epic. They're what inspire us to make our masa and Tostitos the traditional way, starting with whole corn kernels. No artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives, all to give you that perfect crunch. Discover your next tradition this football season. Head to the store, grab your Tostitos team bag, and scan the code for a chance to score an epic experience with the Patriots. Tostitos tradition matters. So like this is like basically reset. We were almost restarting the show again because we're going to start where we usually start now, which is recapping the game last week. So that first 30 minutes was kind of like its own thing. And now we're going into the actual show plan that I had for today with this Cleveland Browns game. So my big picture takeaway from this game against the Browns is, because I'm going to get a little nitpicky with certain things because I want to point to a few trends that are just not going. They're blowing teams out, right? They're blowing doors right now against bad teams, which is great to see. It's great that we're at that point, but we are at a point now where my expectations for this team and like my calibration of how I talk about the team is shifting towards it's no longer are they good? They are good. Now it's are they great? Like, can they be a true contender? They are trending towards being a playoff team. So I'm thinking about this now in the way of like, where can they fine tune certain things so that they can make some noise in the playoffs? And this isn't just a 2021 redux where they make the playoffs, yay, whippy, and then they get blown out by a good team in the wild card round. So I think that there's some nitpicks to this game, both on offense and defense, that we'll get into. But to start with the good stuff, I think that the most encouraging thing about this game from a Drake Maye perspective, and we can start there. I can come out here and give Drake Maye all of his flowers, call him the MVP, and do it. Like, we can do that. It's fun. I'm cool. Yeah. We all know it. But the one thing that stands out to me with him week to week is when there is something to nitpick his game about one week, he almost always fixes it by the following week. So in Tennessee, we were talking a lot about the 1-and-runs, like he was not staying in the pocket. Yeah. He wasn't keeping his eyes down the field. He was taking a lot of hits on scrambles. He wasn't sliding, like all those different types of things. I thought this week I really only had one small gripe with him in this regard. It was on the bootleg sack by Myles Garrett. Like that one we can just throw into the 10th row and not take a hit there. But at the same time, I thought he stayed in the pocket. I thought he hit the backside of the progression more than I think I've seen him do in any game this season and that's against a really good pass rush too. Right. Now, he took 6 sacks, so that's an element of it. But at the same time, I can't harp on him staying in the pocket and going through his reads one week and then criticize him for taking sacks the next week when I wanted him to stay in the pocket and go through his progressions. So I thought that he really took a step forward in that regard, kind of corrected some of those things, scrambled when he needed to scramble, got out of bounds on the 16-yarder, slid down on the 28-yarder. Just much cleaner game from all those perspectives. And then he was gangbusters in the second half. 8 for 8, 114 yards, 3 touchdowns, perfect passer rating in the second half of this game. Last thing, that drive that really put the game away. The 28-yard scramble followed by a 39-yard touchdown. Yeah. That is MVP. Put the cape on, put the team on the back. Hey, Cleveland, warm up the buses. It's time to go home. This game is over. That was Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow-esque. Like when the game is almost over and you just want to go for the jugular, I'm going to hit you with back-to-back explosives and we're in the end zone and this game is over. That's the type of stuff that wins MVPs. That's the type of thing when you put the team on the back for a drive like that, where it's literally all you. He kind of did the same thing in Miami, where it was the big play to Ramondre Stevenson, touchdown, game over. Like, that's the same thing I felt like in this game against Cleveland. I know it was already 23-7 at that point. It wasn't necessarily a close game, but that was the drive that really ended the game. And Drake Maye pulled out the MVP cape. I mean,
so after the scramble was the first time we've heard MVP chants for him, at least here. I think he got some on the road, but how does he respond? First play after his first MVP chance, 39-yard dot to Kayshon Boutte. No, he was really good in this game. He took some sacks. I think against this defense, you just have to take some sacks, not force it. I thought when he did scramble, he did a much better job of protecting himself. The slide on the long scramble was a little ugly, but it was effective, and
did what
I'll take function over fashion at that point. So, another great game from him. One other thing I think he did that he's been doing, but I think it was highlighted in this game, a lot of young quarterbacks do tend to have their favorites more so than the average quarterback. And The example I always use is Keenan Allen got, 140 targets from Justin Herbert?
Yeah.
I don't think Drake Maye's like that, which is a good thing. I definitely think he has his preferences, Kayshon Boutte, Hunter Henry, but this game plan called for a lot of Mac Hollins, and it's all right. Let's rip it to Mac Hollins and not a second thought about it. It makes sense. Mac Hollins is a plus blocking wide receiver. That makes him a little more effective off play action. He's been one of their better play action receivers this year. We talked about running play action against this aggressive Browns defense all week. They ran a lot of play action, so wouldn't you know it, it's a Mac Hollins game, and he just adjusted to it and hit it. And that makes him dangerous because with the young quarterback, sometimes the book can be, if you take away this receiver, he's not as confident throwing to the other guys, and it's going to slow him down, and it's going to create some issues. I don't think you can do that to Drake Maye. He'll throw the ball to whoever. He'll throw the ball to the open guy. He'll throw to the ball to the guy the defense dictates. So you're starting to hear people being now like, well, when are we going to get the book on Drake Maye? You hear this with all these young quarterbacks. The book's out on him. There's the plan is out there, the blueprint, and that can be something that can be a part of the blueprint. And it looks like it might not be for Drake Maye.
That's the Josh McDaniels offense to a T to me.
And that's the thing. It plays super well with Josh McDaniels.
Throwing to the open receiver, throwing where the coverage dictates you to go with the football, not forcing it to certain guys that aren't open within the coverage structure. Like that's basically the foundation of the Josh McDaniels passing offense.
Yeah.
Is that you need to threaten the defense with all 5 eligible receivers on every single play. If you are closing off a side of the field, if you are zeroing in on one guy. Now, Brady had his guys too, right? Like he would zero in on Gronk and Edelman plenty, but those guys would get open. So I think what you're seeing with this offense is they have a hierarchy now to their passing game, which I think is huge. With Stephon Diggs at the top of the depth chart, they now have, these games where the defense is probably doing something, whether it's Denzel Ward or whether it's, schematically from an X's and O's standpoint, these defenses are doing things to make sure that Stephon Diggs isn't going off. And now all of a sudden, Mac Hollins is one-on-one the entire game. Kayshon Boutte is one-on-one on the big play. And Drake Maye is attacking those matchups. They got a rookie corner on the outside, one-on-one against Kayshon Boutte, and he went right at him. And that was definitely something, and we saw it in the Mic'd Up. If you want to check out the Mic'd Up on Patriots.com or Patriots YouTube of Josh McDaniels, of him going over to Drake Maye and saying, hey, trust your guys against the guys we want to trust them against. I guarantee you they circled that corner, that rookie corner, on the depth chart and said, if we have him on the outside against Kayshon Boutte, we're gonna take at least one of these shots and see if we can get that play to work. So I kind of thought that going into the game, like the non-Denzel Ward corners for the Browns, I thought were vulnerable. Tyson Campbell, their slot corner, I keep blanking on his freaking name. Those guys I thought were a little bit susceptible outside of Denzel Ward, and they took advantage of it. Speaking of Josh McDaniels, just a masterclass from him. I thought really from the start of the game on, I know the third quarter drive is getting all the pub as it should, but Jim Schwartz is a really good play caller. One of the best defensive coordinators in football for the Cleveland Browns. Josh McDaniels took him to school. Like he took him to school in this game. And if you are, it's one thing to go out there as a play caller, as a coordinator, and take like a young, inexperienced, first-time play caller to school. When you're taking a guy like Jim Schwartz outside and behind the woodshed, like that's a feather in your cap as a play caller and as a coordinator. I thought what really got this game going from McDaniel's perspective was that very first plus run for Travion Henderson was a wham scheme right up the gut. They ran fullback wham with Jack Westover. They gained 12 yards on that wham scheme right up the gut. And the rest of the game, the Cleveland Browns spent overplaying the inside run. Like they showed him inside run action, and then they could start get these toss going to Travion Henderson out on the edges. That opened up the boots, that opened up the play action, and it all kind of fit together from there after they got that opening drive where they go 12-yard run, 18-yard run to Travion Henderson. It kind of just opened up from there for this offense. Even when they were getting shut down a little bit in the first half, like they were getting into the red zone. Like they had 2 red zone drives. They drove another one to the 24 for Cleveland right before half. So it wasn't like they weren't moving the ball. They just were stalling. And then the dam broke in the second half. So I can't say enough good things about Josh McDaniels, the job he's doing with his football team, both with Drake Maye behind the scenes, on the sideline, the play calling, the play sequencing, showing similar presentations, formations, things like that, and then running different plays out of it to keep defenses off balance. Just the amount that they're throwing at defenses in general, whether it's under center, movement plays, shotgun, RPO, read option, different runs, inside, outside runs, cracks, toss cracks, inside run plays, outside zone. There's just a million different things that they throw at a defense on a given Sunday. He's done a great job. Deserves his flowers. I think right now, and I said this yesterday, between McDaniels and Shane Steichen in Indianapolis, those are the two hottest play callers in the NFL right now on the offensive side of the ball. So you're doing a really, really good job when you're talking about he might be on the biggest heater of any play caller in football besides maybe the guy that's making Daniel Jones look good. And so that tells you a lot about Josh McDaniels right now.
That open, and look, he was good the whole game. That opening drive of the third quarter, just
perfect.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That was, he hit him with literally everything. You had crack toss, you had play action toss, you had a speed option in there, which I love. There was a trick play mixed in. Hit some things off play action. I mean, their heads were spinning. That was just brilliant stuff from Josh McDaniels. Again, he's been good all year. That drive was another level. That drive was a masterpiece caliber drive.
Yeah, one of the best scripted drives in the league all season. Dan Orlovsky said that. He watches a lot of football too. So it's not just me from a biased standpoint saying that. Truly one of the best scripted drives in all of the NFL this season. You mentioned, just all the different things they threw at him. Even just like setting up, handing the jet sweep to Pop to set up the hoop.
That's right. There's a jet sweep in there too. Yeah.
So they run a jet sweep and then they come back and they run jet motion and then they get Hunter Henry just wide open in the flat on the touchdown. And if you watch the defensive backs for Cleveland, they actually flip the safeties. So the safety starts down. He sees the jet sweep, the safety who's up, he comes down to take the other side of the formation to take the jet sweep. That safety goes back. And then all of a sudden now there's a 2-on-1 in the flat to Hunter Henry, all schemed, all dressed up. And when you watch them mic'd up, that instance, there's a couple of different instances within the mic'd up that were kind of subtle, where Josh McDaniels is basically saying, yep, okay, now you go over there, right? And we're going to throw it here. And like he's basically knowing exactly how Cleveland is going to react to all the motion and all the different movement by the offense. That is next level preparation. Like having that ability to watch a defense on film. And I think we talk about this a lot with motion. Like how does a defense react to motion? Like how do they play motion? Do they follow it? Do they pass it off? Do they use their safeties like the Browns do to, rotate? He knew the Browns were going to rotate their safeties like that when they motioned. They didn't. They were late to it against Pop. Pop gains 8 yards on the play before. So now they are on it and they're really overplayed on the Henry touchdown. And he knew it the whole time. He knew exactly what he was doing. That's play calling. That's stacking plays. That's sequencing plays off of each other. Really, really good stuff. Want to stick on one point there. TreVeyon Henderson. A nice breakout game for TreVeyon Henderson.
Yep.
They finally got the ball to him in space and got him outside on these toss plays. Obviously, you can't be too predictable with toss plays. I think as the game wore on, they tried a couple more late in this game and Cleveland was ready for it and shut them down. But once you start tossing the ball, then you have the run actions off the toss, but then you also have now the inside's going to start to open up for him, right? When you start to get guys to over pursue out to the edge, and now you can hit them inside with different runs. I thought this plan, this usage was significantly improved. And then I thought Henderson was a lot better in this game, both making reads out in space, but also his pass blocking. I thought he had a couple good pass blocking reps in this game as well. So his game's starting to develop and he's starting to come along. That would be huge. Yeah. If they could get training camp TreVeyon Henderson back, and maybe he's not quite as dynamic as he was in training camp, but close to that. We still haven't really unlocked the passing game elements of what he could do as a receiver. This is all running game stuff. But he carried the ball 7 times, I think, or around 70 yards on those outside tosses. He runs outside the tackles, averaged almost 10 yards per attempt on crack toss schemes, essentially down the line there. This was good. This was a very positive development for them.
Yeah, it really was. Go figure. It just took facing the best run defense in the league. But the crazy thing to me, so remember earlier in the year when people were saying Trayvon Henderson needs to play more, and we were saying, like, no, he's playing a lot. It just doesn't feel like it because he's not doing a ton. We've hit the complete polar opposite of that. So Ramondre Stevenson in this game had 15 touches on 50 snaps, 5-0. 50 snaps, touched the ball 15 times. Travion Henderson had 10 touches on 14 snaps. That's an insane usage rate. He was basically, 2 out of every 3 times, more than 2 out of every 3 times he's on the field, he got the ball. So you don't want it to become a tell, but it's kind of crazy that it felt like he played this big role in this game. He really was not on the field that much.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's ultimately the role for him. Maybe that's what it is.
That was his role at Ohio State.
Right. Pick your spots and go. Now, they are going to need another running back to spell more with Stevenson. If they're going to do that, 50 snaps a game is a lot, even if it is only 15 touches. But, yeah, if they can get him going, that's a huge development.
Yeah, it was really positive. Again, I think there was a clear, and he said so as much after the game when I asked him, there was a clear point of emphasis this week to let's get this guy out on the edge and see what he can do in some space. And if we have to toss the ball to him instead of stretch handoffs and things like that, that's what we're going to do. So they did a nice job of getting him out outside the tackle. Some really good blocks on some of those plays as well. Shout out Jared Wilson, who I thought was really good in this game.
He was a lot better,
especially climbing to the second level of the defense on some of those toss schemes. Like his ability to climb to the second level when they run him to the right side, to Morgan Moses' side, his ability to get up to the second level and block the backside pursuit is why that becomes a 27-yard run. Because he's up there at the second level, turning out that weak side linebacker, and that allows those runs to go from, let's call it a 6-yard run to a 27-yard run. That's how you get those bigger runs down the field. So Morgan Moses at 34, getting out there in front of those toss schemes. I thought that, again, Jared Wilson was a big part of it as well. So a lot of good things there from all those players. A couple of the positives on the defensive side of the ball here in the goods. I thought that, again, they settled down nicely against the script, but I think the biggest thing for them was the only way Cleveland was going to win this game is by running the football. Like they had to run the ball with Quinshon Judkins, play really good defense on the other side of the ball, and win this game, 20-17, 17-13, something like that. Like that was their formula. They kind of got it for the first half defensively, but they were never able to run the ball. Judkins had 19 yards on 9 carries in this game.
Sounds right, yeah.
Was running into a brick wall the entire game. I broke it down and after further review with diagrams and plays, and it's much easier to digest that way. But the way they're fitting the run's different than it did in the past. I mentioned that earlier in the show. They have it rolling right now from a run defense perspective. Robert Spillane has it rolling, but also this defensive line is as good against the run as any defensive line I've seen for the Patriots. They don't make any mistakes. They don't jump out of gaps. They don't get double teamed off the ball very often. They are sound. They are stout up front. It's a great group. It's being coached really well by Clint McMillan. He deserves a lot of credit for that as well. But their run defense continues to be one of the best run defenses in football. And this was a week where the Browns were big physical team up front, really physical, good rookie running back, and the Patriots completely shut them down on the ground.
Yeah, and they're going to get another test this week in Bijan Robinson, so we'll really tell. But the run defense it's at an insanely high level right now. And you talk about, I was actually, oddly enough, kind of impressed with Judkins in this game, in the sense that I thought when he got hit, he did a good job of falling forward and creating some hidden yardage. And even doing that, he really didn't do a lot in this game.
No, didn't do a lot at all. Now, part of that's game script. Like once you're down by 2 touchdowns, you're not going to keep running the football, most likely. But again, I thought that was the Browns' only path to victory, was a big Judkins game, a big game for their defense. And they got the defense from the first half, but they didn't sustain on defense, and then they never got Judkins going. And I thought that was a huge reason why the Patriots won this game so easily, was that Cleveland was never going to beat them throwing the football. Dylan Gabriel was never going to be the reason why they lost. So I thought that was, something that was really feathering their cap. Last thing on the goods, and then we'll take a break and we'll talk about the bads here. Just the goods, these receivers, I think, just deserve praise for the work they're doing. Mac Hollins, big game for him, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Three more chunk plays in this game, has 5 in the last 2 weeks. Kayshon Boutte, just once a week, Kayshon Boutte's hitting a bomb with Drake Maye. It seems like over the last month or so, I just continue to be really impressed by every single player kind of finding their targets, finding their role. Like even Pop Douglas hits the 44-yarder on the extended play. Like they all kind of have a niche right now. They all kind of work and fit together. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't take AJ Brown or I wouldn't take a stud receiver on top of this. But when you start talking about trades and the deadline and receiver, I'm not that interested in adding a receiver that's just kind of part of this mix. Like It's got to be somebody that
top of the depth chart or nothing.
Don't.
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of these names out there that got thrown out there. I'll just give you an example. And I'm a fan of this player, but I don't really see the need to trade for Chris Olave. Like I think Chris Olave is just going to play where Kayshon Boutte is playing. How much more production or how much better is he going to be than Kayshon Boutte to give up a pick for Chris Olave? Like, again, if it's not AJ Brown, if it's not somebody of that ilk, I'm not interested in receiver because right now they are puzzle pieces at that position and in that room just fit tremendously together. And Drake Maye has got plenty. He's got enough receiver talent on this team right now. I'm really pleased with where they are.
It's more of a long-term need because, look, Diggs is a big part of what they're doing right now, and he's 31.
Right.
So you got to go out and you got to get the guy that's going to grow long-term with Drake Maye. I also would like to see them we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but get that Z slot type. I'm good with Kayshon Boutte at the X. I don't think they need the big outside X. I think you like Kayshon Boutte in that role. Find the guy, and maybe it's Kyle Williams, who knows, but find the guy that's going to step into Diggs' role.
Sure.
And that's really the addition they need. After that, they're in relatively good shape.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll do some of the nitpicks from this game, and we'll take your calls and emails.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Catch-22.
Front Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site and is the official sponsor of the New England Patriots and the Gillette Stadium Field Crew. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that help design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, they let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Patriots or with coupon code PATS. I keep asking this of Brunt, and I'm going to ask them again. So Boyd has to have a jacket or something from Brunt, right? Which means that Atlas could also have some Brunt workwear, dog clothes.
Oh, some dog clothes.
So yeah, I think, if you're going to be the official sponsor of the Gillette Stadium Field Crew, then Boyd is a part of the Gillette Stadium Field Crew. So we need to get him outfitted with some Brunt, and then we can get all the dogs of Patriots.com outfitted with some Brunt as well. That'd be great.
2035, pal. I love it.
I love that. Right. My dog has his own wardrobe. That's how it is. That's how it rolls. It's what happens when you have a short-haired dog in New England when it gets cold. He doesn't really like the cold too much. All right, let's get back to football. I want to talk about some of the other things here in terms of the bads, let's say, in this game, the nitpicks of this game. And again, I want to be clear. This is about fine-tuning things so that this team can go on a run here and be a true playoff contender. They're already a good team. Let's make them a great team. One of the things that stands out to me right now with Drake Maye, and then I want to unpack all of these sacks. He's now second in the league. He has taken 28 sacks this year. That's second most in the NFL. His pressure to sack rate, so when he's under pressure, how often does he go down? That's also the second highest in the league at 26%. So I think one thing that stands out to me about these numbers, it's getting sacked a lot. That's just on the surface. But when you dig even deeper, he's a great scrambler. He's a great play extension artist. But when he gets under pressure, he's going down. That seems to be the book on him. This is a bit of everything. Some of it's offensive line, but I will give the offensive line this. All 6 of the sacks in this game took over 4 seconds. So this was not jailbreaks. This was not Myles Garrett blowing by Will Campbell in 2.5 seconds and sacking the quarterback. There was 1 or 2 sacks that I would put on Maye. Certainly the bootleg, I think, is the default, where just throw the ball away and save the yards there. But I thought the first red zone sack, he got a little hung up on Ramondre Stevenson, kind of froze on his first read a little bit, had Hunter Henry in the middle of the field if he had come off of that. So as always with sacks, this is a little bit of a quarterback stat. It's not just an offensive line stat. I want to go sack by sack here in a second and talk about Will Campbell and some of the issues that they had up front. But if there's one thing that's going to start to bite them in the butt offensively, is that they're taking a lot of sacks, which of course is putting them in long down and distance. And to Drake Maye's credit, he's getting them out of it. He's getting into 2nd and 17 and turning that into first down, which is very uncommon and a feather in his cap in terms of, his play. But eventually when you face better defenses, eventually when your luck kind of runs out and those long down and distance situations, sacks can be drive killers. Right now, they haven't been drive killers because of how good he's been, but eventually that might change. So where are you at with this number of sacks? Because I think I go back and forth on it. On the one hand, you don't want to take away his play extension, his instincts to try to hold in the pocket, hang in the pocket, and let things develop, because he's capable of squeaking out and hitting Pop Douglas for 44 yards down the field. So you don't want to completely take that away. But at the same time, you are taking a lot of sacks right now. It's starting to pile up.
I mean, what's the stat? I think it's something like once you have a sack on a drive, I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. I was trying to look it up. I think like on drives that include a sack, teams only score like 15% of the time or something. Like a sack can really, really set you back. So it's always not great. I don't know how sustainable it is at this level for them to keep making it work, but it's working, right? It's working. And I don't, like you said, you don't want to negate his ability to extend plays. And maybe as the line continues to come together and they build chemistry and Will Campbell and Jared Wilson get more experience, that just kind of that number comes down naturally.
Yeah.
I would also, I'd rather take the sacks and the turnovers. And if the sack number comes down, but the turnover number goes back up, that's not necessarily a good thing either.
So the one thing I will say about the sacks too, I hear this a lot, just throw the ball away. Well, if you start just throwing the ball away from the pocket and there's pressure, then that's what's called intentional grounding, right? Like you can't just, like you can throw the ball away at guys' feet and you can throw the ball away, where it's like kind of your guy or no guy.
Yeah.
And like Brady was a master at that. And he eliminated
it's harder
sacks
than
that
it
way.
Looks.
It's very hard. And it's a fine line. Because if you start trying to throw the ball under pressure at guys' feet or like out of bounds and you don't get it out of bounds, those become turnovers.
The one thing he does need to get better at doing is when he's outside the pocket throwing the ball away. There's a few times where he's taken sacks or even run out of bounds outside of the pocket. Like those ones need to be thrown away. That would be a bigger nitpick for me. Inside the pocket is different. He's got to be a little more willing to throw the ball away outside the pocket.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the Myles Garrett bootleg sack is a perfect example.
Right.
This is one other like little nitpick that I had from this game from the one sort of nitpick of Josh McDaniels and Drake Maye from a play calling perspective. There was 3 plays in this game that were doomed from the start. The tackle trap play down by the goal line on the first drive that goes for -4 yards. The bootleg to Myles Garrett's side. And then there was one other run that was I think it was the 3rd and 1 run maybe.
Yeah.
That got stuff. But I just wonder where we're at, and maybe I'll try to ask this week. Like, where are we at with Drake checking out of plays?
So I was going to say the bootleg to Garrett's side that they called, and we had talked a little bit last week about running bootlegs to his side to upset his timing, but that was on the left side. That was on the back side. That's one where I do wonder, you get to the line, you're expecting that to be a boot away from him. Suddenly he's on the right side.
Right.
Should they have checked out of that play?
Should they check out of it? Can they just flip it? Right? Like, can he, give a little flipper call, and then all of a sudden, instead of booting to the left, you're booting to the right. Now there's moving parts. You got to move the tight ends. You got to move all the pieces. But that's part of maturing and part of developing here as a quarterback. I'm not holding it totally against him because I don't know if they're giving him that kind of control yet. So I think that's a question for Josh McDaniels and Ashton Grant of like, how much is he really allowed to do at the line of scrimmage? Like if he's canning, like if they have 2 play calls in the huddle, that's very different than asking him to see Myles Garrett on the right side. And now we're going to flip it. And now we're going to move the tight end over here. We're going to flip the formation. And now we're going to run the bootleg to the left because Myles Garrett's lined up on the right. In theory, that sounds great. In practice, it's not as easy. So I don't know where they are with that whole thing, but I mentioned the tackle trap play that goes -4 on first down from I think it was inside the 5, right on the opening drive there, basically killed the drive and forced them to kick a field goal there. They run tackle trap to a wide 9. So the defensive end on the side of the field that they're pulling to is all the way outside the tackle. He's way outside. So now Morgan Moses has to go from right tackle. He's going to pull all the way to the front side of the play, all the way out to a wide 9 technique defensive end. He's not going to get there. He's just not. It's just not a possibility. And so what happens, the guy comes into the backfield. I think it was Alex Wright. He comes screaming up the field into the backfield, blows out the play for 4-yard loss. So when you start looking at those types of things, where are they at with checking in and out of plays? Where are they at with Drake Maye having the controls and having that ability? I think that might be Josh McDaniels' offense PhD level. That might be the next step for them in terms of the mental stuff and the pre-snap stuff. Defensively. Oh, wait. I want to talk about the sacks. So I mentioned all 6 sacks took more than 4 seconds. So this was not a jailbreak situation. I wrote down somewhere, hopefully I have it somewhere, where all the sacks were to blame, right? And who was to blame in my mind. I'm not in the room. I don't know for 100%, but just where the blame was for some of the sacks. So I look at the very first sack in the red zone, and wasn't a great execution on the chip by Will Campbell. He lets Myles Garrett around him. But I kind of felt like that was also a little bit on Maye. I thought he held the ball a little bit on that play. They did chip Myles Garrett. It happened in over 4 seconds. There was an open receiver in the middle of the field. He also could have ran out to his right, and try to extend the play that way. So I kind of looked at that one as I gave it to Campbell, it's Campbell's sack. But I also kind of look at it and say the quarterback could have helped him out a little bit there. The other Myles Garrett sacks, one of them was on Jared Wilson on a stunt. He stunted inside, a little T&E. He wraps inside, beats Jared Wilson. He beat Morgan Moses on the hump move a couple of times and finally got a sack out of it on Morgan Moses. And then they had the bootleg sack. So 2 on Campbell on the chips, 1 on Wilson, 1 on Moses, 1 on scheme or, play call. I didn't think this was a disastrous game from Will Campbell. I really didn't. And watching it back, I thought he was really good against Myles Garrett one-on-one. got him 8 times without any help one-on-one. I thought he won 7 of them. And the one time that he didn't win, Drake Maye stepped up in the pocket and scrambled, so it wasn't a pressure. I thought that he was much better without the chips. And the chips, I'm sure you talked to David Andrews a little bit about, the technique and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't executed properly. But outside of the 2 sacks, which were more about his execution, I thought, than Myles Garrett, I really think that this was a okay game for Will Campbell. I'm not going to excuse him for the sacks, but I think that it was better than the original watch made it seem.
A first ballot Hall of Famer made a rookie look like a rookie going up against a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, it wasn't a disqualifying game by any means. He needs to be better than that most weeks, but he's not facing Myles Garrett most weeks.
Right.
You mentioned the chips, and what Andrews had talked about was, the chip is not necessarily meant to buy you time. It's to offset the center of gravity. And what Campbell does is he uses it to buy time. So Hunter Henry chips, he's still back in his pass set, and then he lets Garrett come to him. So it's essentially resetting the rush. It does buy you a second, but it doesn't actually make anything easier for Campbell in the one-on-one. If anything, it makes it harder because now Garrett has more of a head of steam coming to him. And what Andrews pointed out is later in the game, it wasn't against Garrett, it was against somebody else. They get the same look. And this time, Will Campbell steps up and meets him right in the chip, meets the rusher right in the chip, instead of letting the rusher come to him. So you saw the growth there. I don't think Will Campbell's at the point where he's Trent Brown, where, all right, we're not going to chip because it's going to throw him off. He just he didn't really get chip help in college. So it's not something he's done a lot. He has to learn how to play that.
This was also a very different type of chip help, because like Hunter Henry literally is like chucking him off the line of scrimmage. Like, he's engaging him off the line of scrimmage in his face. Whereas as the game wore on, there was a couple of more instances. One on, I believe it was Booty's touchdown, where they executed the chip better, but also he got chip help from the running back instead of the tight end on the line of scrimmage. And I think he's looks a little bit more comfortable with, because that helps him with the short corner, right? Because we talk a lot about with him, the length and the ability, to get a little bit over aggressive and kind of get off his landmark and then open the inside to those inside rush moves. When you get a little bit of help, from the running back coming out of the backfield, what that can do is that pushes the rusher back inside. So instead of allowing the rusher to threaten the corner and open up Will Campbell, now he can kind of set a little bit more to the inside and have that ability to just let the chip kind of just push him back inside towards him. So I think the running back chip help, he's better at that. So like when they're moving forward, if they're not going to see Myles Garrett again, thank God.
Right.
But if they see another pass rusher that's an elite guy, I don't even know when or if, but if they do, then I think the running back chip help is seems more comfortable with that than he did with the tight end chips. And then as the game wore on, like, he closed down the space and he got much better at it, even with Hunter Henry working on the chips. But I agree with the point. When he goes and chips, like, Campbell needs to take that time to go get his hands on Garrett.
Right.
He can't sit back and try to catch Garrett. You want to chip him from the tight end. Campbell get aggressive. He gets his hands on him too, and now we're riding him around the edge. Again, I thought he was much better on one-on-one pass pro in this game than he was with the chips. So those were the sacks. I like to see them take a little bit fewer sacks. Drake Maye take a little bit of fewer sacks. I think this goes hands in hand a little bit with the man coverage stuff that we saw from Cleveland in this game, which I think more teams are going to try against the Patriots. Even though the Patriots won some rounds in man coverage, the 44-yarder to Pop being a big one, the 28-yard scramble by Maye was against man coverage. They also had a pick. They had 5 sacks. Of their 6 sacks were in man-to-man. Man with a spy on Drake Maye might be the book of what teams try. Playing zone against Drake Maye is a death sentence. Do not play zone against this kid. Like, second in the league in EPA against zone coverage. He is lighting up zone. The only quarterback in the league that has been better against zone coverage than Drake Maye is Patrick Mahomes. So, like, that's not an answer. These 2 deep zones, these cover 2s, like, he's just shredding those types of zones. Man-to-man is more about the receivers than it is about the scheme or the quarterback. Can the receivers get open? That's the difference. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of that moving forward. You spy Drake Maye with a linebacker. Carson Wessinger did it on his pick. He's a spy in that play. And then you play man-to-man on the back end. Can the receiver separate consistently against man? If you spy Drake Maye, can he outrun the spy? Is that a factor or not a factor? I think that's where we're headed here. If you keep playing zone against Drake Maye, he's going to be the most efficient quarterback in the league all year. Like that's just going to be a death sentence for teams. Maybe the man-to-man stuff is the Browns kind of found something in that first half. The Falcons have AJ Terrell. That's not really what they do.
Yeah.
They're more of a zone defense. I don't know if they're going to play a lot of man in this game. It's not really their book. It's not really their MO. Tampa, I don't know if these teams have it in terms of the horses.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing. It's easier said than done. You got to have the horses to do it. And then, not this year, but long term, if you're the Patriots, you go out and you get a bunch of man-beater wide receivers. And you put them around Drake Maye. So if that's the book on Drake Maye, that's not an easy defensive game plan to execute by any means.
Not for 4 quarters, no. And, his big play ability, his explosive play ability to run, scramble, and then also to extend plays and give the receivers more time to open up against man coverage, that's tough to cover too. So if you're going to play man, like I said, it's got to be with a spy. It's got to be with a contained rush, trying to aim to keep him in the pocket and make throws from the pocket. Because if you let him dip and rip like you did on the Pop Douglas one, he's going to hit bombs down the field against broken coverage. So it's a hard quarterback to solve. I mean, that's what makes him good. But I do think the man stuff in the first half that Cleveland played, they might see a little bit more of that here moving forward. Going over to the defense, I mentioned the script numbers are just insane. Right now they're giving up 7.8 yards per play. They're giving up an explosive play 24% of the time in the opponent's first 2 drives of the game. So they are last in the league in yards per play on the first 2 drives of the game. It almost cut it in half for the rest of the game. They go from 7.8 in the opening script to 4.7 outside of the script on defense. But similar to what we're talking about with the sacks on offense, so far they've gotten away with it. The question is, when does that run out? When it does it, but when and if that luck runs out, are they porked at that point?
I mean, look, against better offensive teams, it's going to be much, much harder. You can't put yourself in that hole against like Tampa. Tampa is the game I'm watching for in that regard.
Yeah. So last thing here, the biggest thing that I see with this defense that's still breaking my brain, and I'm going to keep harping on this until they prove me right or prove me wrong. 28th in the league in pass DVOA, 4th in the league in scoring defense. Doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So I looked this up. I went back 5 years. Over the last 5 years, 80% of the defenses that finished top 10 in scoring also finished top 10 in pass DVOA. So the best pass defenses in the league are also the best scoring defenses in the league. Shocker. There's always one outlier. Maybe the Patriots are it. The Niners are also another outlier this season. Their pass defense has struggled. But statistically speaking, again, if you continue to play pass defense at this level, the numbers are telling us that water is going to find its level eventually with the scoring. So can they keep up this level of scoring defense as the stakes rise, as the opponents get better? If they don't improve significantly as a pass defense, I think is another thing that could come back up in, let's say, January when we're talking about why their season ended. It might be because they faced Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert or Josh Allen and they couldn't get off the field on defense and they couldn't stop. I think that there's some truth to that because, in this game, like Dylan Gabriel has Isaiah Bond wide open down the field and misses him. Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert or Josh Allen is not missing that throw. Like this quarterback does. Ward, has one good half of football, but doesn't have 4 quarters of good football in Tennessee the week before. This type of stuff might come up to haunt them once they face better teams. So that was the good and the bad. I didn't really have anything that got them beat. I thought
I did. They had some sloppy plays late that against a better team would concern me.
Onside kick, fumble.
Yeah, allowing an onside kick recovery. Travion Henderson fumbling at the goal line. They had some avoidable penalties. Marte Mapu lines up incorrectly on the opening kickoff. A couple third down false starts. A 3rd and 1 fall. I forget which one was which. Hunter Henry and Mike Onwenu got called for false starts.
Yeah, Onwenu got a bad one.
One was on a 3rd and 1 which
That was
pushes
on
them back
Manu.
to a 3rd and 5, and they stall out.
Yeah.
And the other's on a 3rd and long, but it was at the end of the first half there and temporarily took him out of field goal range if Maye doesn't hit that throw to Booty, which, by the way, you know what's ridiculous? Keyshawn Booty had that stretch of consecutive catches for a first down. I think it reached 12.
And
it snaps because he gets 23 yards on 3rd and 24.
But this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, they get into 3rd and 24, and they get knocked out of field goal range before halftime. Most teams, that's dead, right? Like, that's not, you're
right,
not.
But
they hit a 21-yard pass, and they get right back into very makeable field goal range, not just field goal range,
Right.
like under 50 yards.
Well, let's also give Andy Borgales some credit. He's been really good lately, and that's gone under the radar.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's not exactly hitting bombs. Like,
no, 42 is, I mean, it's not a chip shot, but it's manageable. But this might, like, you're right. That usually doesn't happen, which is why I put that penalty in the stuff that gets you beat category. Yeah, the recovered onside kick, the fumble at the goal line, bad shank punt from Bryce Baringer. Just like they kind of let go of the rope at the end there. And, I'm sure Mike Vrabel that's probably all they've heard about all week.
So, sacks, pass defense, some of the situational football late in the game. Those are the things that when you get into a game against a healthy Baltimore, Buffalo, Tampa, playoffs, like those are the things that you hope they can fix, they can fine tune, they can correct before the playoffs.
You know what?
come around.
It's crazy. They haven't looked like a young team as much as they probably should have at points this year, except in those moments. So you hope later in the year, like they don't look like as much of a young team because they're not as young at that point. As Bill Belichick, you said, there's no rookies. Once you get past Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, something like that. Bill Belichick. All right, Patty's in Agawam. We're gonna take the calls. I know I always leave you guys on hold. What's up, Patty?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How we doing?
Good. So I got a point and a couple questions to end with. I know this is probably not going to be a very popular take, but I don't know if I would want to trade for Trey Hendrickson just because of the age. He's injured right now. And realistically, he's been great. He's been a great player, but how many more great years are you going to get out of him? Especially like if he comes here and then he decides to test the market afterwards. So trading for somebody like that is a little bit volatile in my opinion. Alex, you brought up the name Boye Mafe. I mean, like, as far as defensive ends go, I know, like, Ardenke's a popular name, but if you're going to swing for the fences, like, Mafe, if he's available, I would give up a day 2 pick for that guy. My two questions. A lot of people bring up Jerome Ford. Alex, you brought him up earlier, but and I would very much welcome him on the team. But a guy that doesn't get mentioned a lot that I would like to see here, he's returned kicks in the past. He hasn't done it in the past few years. Is Tony Pollard, and he could be your third down running back and possibly get him out there to return kicks. What do you guys feel about that? And Evan, you brought up like obviously the sack numbers and the pressure numbers on Maye. We know that during his North Carolina career, he did run a lot of RPOs. As the season gets a little bit more deep and Josh opens up the playbook, do you think they add a few RPOs a game just to see if we can get the ball out quickly so he doesn't get that quick pressure? And I'll take it off air, guys.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for the call. Yeah, they haven't they've gone away from some of that stuff. RPO read option. They do it a little bit on the goal line where I don't know if it's a true read option. He might just kind of be threatening the backside to try to like hold the backside and kind of give them pause. But they haven't done a ton of RPO stuff lately. They instead of doing that, they've kind of went more to the boots and the under center and moving the pocket and like getting him, his legs involved that way instead. So I don't know if that's a comfort thing. Like maybe he feels more comfortable. I know he did a lot of RPO at college, so you would think that he would be comfortable with that, but it's different in the NFL. One of the big things with RPOs that's different in the NFL is how far down the field you can block legally on RPOs. In the NFL, it's I think it's 2 yards. In college, it's like 5 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So you see the lineman way further down the field and the run action in college and that mesh, like you can hold the mesh for a lot longer than you can in the NFL. So I think that's why you're seeing some of these RPO schemes that have trickled up to the NFL. They haven't been quite as effective since they first kind of broke in with it because of that. I think defenses have adjusted, but I would also say, the rules in the NFL with the illegal man downfield penalties is definitely a little bit more restrictive than it is in the college game. And then also like the hashes, right? Like,
Right.
There's a lot more space to the field in the college game than there is in the pro game as well. What was the Tony Pollard?
Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's a guy that, I think they're probably looking at, or in my mind, would be looking at a third running back.
Yeah.
And Tony Pollard's a guy with his pedigree and the way he's played. I don't think you want to bury Travion Henderson. How is he going to handle coming here and being in a third running back role? Weren't there some reports that he didn't love splitting carries with Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas? And I think they probably want to go younger too. Tony Pollard's only 28, but for a running back, that's getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
Now Tajay Spears,
yeah, that's a good
as
one.
a 5-minute back, third running back, the Titans' backup running back would make more sense to me. I think if you're going to go as big as Tony Pollard, well, at that point, you call the Jets about Breece Hall. And I just don't think that's the kind of back they need to add. They don't need somebody at the top of the depth chart. They just need a third guy, a body who's going to be able to split some carries with Stevenson. I don't know that Pollard's going to slide into that role.
So I had thought about Tony Pollard during Titans week, obviously, just because it was relevant at the time. If Ramondre's fumbling issues continued and they really had to bench Ramondre,
then it would make more sense.
Then I thought it made a lot of sense. Obviously, it's only been 2 games where he's had it a little bit better under wraps in terms of the fumbling, but it seems like he's sort of leveled off in that regard. Right, he had the fumble in Buffalo. I think might have been the last one that he fumbled.
Yes,
and so I think that's hopefully they've kind of corrected that and we're moving past that. If they were in a position where they had to bench Ramondre Stevenson because of fumbling, then Tony Pollard would have made a lot of sense. But because they aren't in that position, I think I'm more with you that they need a third running back. Tajay Spears is a good shout. Jerome Ford, is a guy just for the kickoff returns too, is a good shout. Those types of players more so than, Tony Pollard's making a lot of money. Like Tony Pollard's like a $10, $11 million a year running back. They're not doing that unless he's starting and he's playing. Now, what was the other thing I was going to say about the backs? I don't remember. Let's keep rolling with the calls. Sam is in Virginia. What's up, Sam?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for waiting. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Just one quick question at the deadline. We opened up the show talking about the Duggar trade. A little concerned about the safety depth here. Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson have emerged and seem like solid starters, but depth is kind of an issue all around the roster, especially in the safety room now. I'm curious if you could see a trade on the margins for some safety help, and I'll take it off there.
Thanks for the call, Sam. Yeah, absolutely. They signed Saunders from the Dolphins practice squad. That's, similar to signing Richie Grant to their practice squad. It feels very depthy. Like that doesn't feel like a guy that could truly step in to a third safety role. I wonder how they feel about Del Pettis. Maybe they feel like he's made strides behind the scenes. He was a decent find as a rookie, as an undrafted rookie last year. Maybe he can be that third safety. I would still entertain all safety suggestions. I'll keep pounding the table to try to pry Amani Hooker out of Tennessee. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Didn't he just get an extension?
Last offseason he did, yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen, but Tennessee says they're open for business on everybody that isn't Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons. So I'm at least making the phone call. Vrabel guy, grew up in that system, definitely be seamless. Now, with all that being said, Woodson, I think, has shown enough flashes that I'd like to continue to develop Craig Woodson. Jalen Hawkins, for what it's worth, is PFF's 7th rated safety.
He's been playing well. Hamstring injuries are tricky, as we've learned this year, but he has been playing well. That's in the short term. This will be different when we get to the offseason. In the short term, that's more. I don't think they need to go out and try to find somebody who's going to push Hawkins off the depth chart. The depth dries up really quickly. You already have Hawkins dealing with an injury. Craig Woodson's been on the injury report. Do they have the bodies there is more the question for me. Look, I take Amani Hooker, certainly, but I think you can get by for this year with Hawkins and Woodson. You don't need to move a 3rd-round pick at the deadline, right, to get a new starting safety.
Yeah, agreed. I think they figured out with Hawkins, he's just not a man coverage on tight end safety. He got burned a couple times by Brock Bowers in the opener, and I think they kind of were like, all right, we've seen enough.
Yeah.
That's not his role. Now that they got him, kind of doing a little bit of everything, playing deep, playing in the box, and being more of like a free defender that's just allowed to roam and play over the top, and great interception on Sunday, playing the deep part of the field. Like, that's his game. He's not going to go cover Kyle Pitts one-on-one. That's not his game.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a safety type, like, that's the type. Like, they need somebody to cover the tight end. They tried Marte Mapu. He played one play, 19 yards off the field, right? Like, they've tried Hawkins, not so good. They've tried Woodson, not so great. They've tried, just zoning off the tight end. Right now, they're 5th in the league in yards allowed to tight ends. Dalton Kincaid went off against them. Brock Bowers went off against them. In this game, I think Kyle Pitts could go off against them if he gets the quarterback play that he needs to do so. So it's a position that is more like a role that they need to fill. Like, they need a cover safety.
So what about a coverage linebacker?
Sure.
Would you be in on Logan Wilson?
I don't know if he's going one-on-one against a tight end, but I like Logan Wilson as a player. Like, I think it's an upgrade over Ellis, Tavai, Gibbons, like at that spot next to Spillane. I don't know if he's the answer to all your tight end problems, but I would kick the tires on it just because of the upgrade that it would be at that level. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if they can do something differently scheme-wise, but even Harold Fannin, 19-yard third down crosser, touchdown on an 18-yard play, and Joko got him once. Like,
I do think the touchdown was a miscommunication.
Busted coverage.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
They need a tight end stopper, and that's a long-term need.
It's a problem. It's been a problem. All right, let's go back to the phones. Don is in Philly. What's up, Don?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
How we doing?
Not bad. Wanted to discuss the secondary really quickly. Love the Marcus Jones extension. Obviously, we're going to have to shell out a lot of cash to Gonzalez, most likely this offseason. I was looking up Carlton Davis's contract. Looks like he has like $34 million guaranteed. That's a lot of cash that's going to be spent towards the secondary.
Yep.
Do you possibly see us unloading Carlton Davis maybe at the end of this year, seeing if we can find a trade partner? It just seems like there's some holes on the defense that we could use, fill that, that linebacker spot, maybe get another safety somewhere, just because we're also spending so much money on the D-line. And secondly, now we have 10 draft picks this upcoming year, a lot in the 6th round. Sounds like we're going to try to get some depth, but we really need to, help Drake Maye out in the long run. And I think Evan said it the other day, we can't just keep this same core going forward. I doubt there's going to be a move at the trade deadline for someone that's, truly going to change how this roster, works this year in terms of Drake's Maye development. But who are we targeting, maybe in the offseason, or who would you guys want as like a dynamic playmaker to help Drake Maye out? And I'll take it off air, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Thanks for the call. I to that last point, that's my feeling on it, is just I'll look back at learning from mistakes in 2021.
Yeah.
2021, you have the big off season, big free agency spending spree, record breaking at the time. You draft Mac Jones. He has a decent rookie season. And then your big off season acquisition on offense is Devontae Parker.
Right.
So I don't know how it fits into the puzzle that they're building here offensively, but you need to do something next offseason to continue stacking, right? Like it has to be better than something like Devontae Parker.
I don't think you need to rebuild the whole thing, but it's just, like he said, add a playmaker or two, whether that's in the draft, whether it's in free agency. We talked about, we know Josh McDaniels is happy to go 2 tight ends. Do you get a more dynamic, yards after the catch tight end next to Hunter Henry? Is that the move? Do you try to find a, say, all right, Booty and Diggs ideally would be your 1 and 2 receivers again? Do you try to find a third guy with a little more explosiveness than Mac Hollins, but more consistency than Pop Douglas? Again, maybe that is Kyle Williams, or maybe they go back to the draft, a guy like KC Concepcion, we could go through all that. But to his point about Carlton Davis, it's a yeah, it's an expensive secondary, but it's a good secondary. It's not like.
Well, I think the point that he's trying to get at, and we can just address the elephant in the room, is Christian Gonzalez's future extension and just future period when you're now. The thing about Carlton Davis, though, before I get into the whole Gonzalez of it all, Carlton Davis's contract is really only a 2-year deal.
Right.
So, like...
And Gonzalez's money doesn't kick in until 2027.
Right, because he's going to sign if he signs the extension...
I would assume they're going to do the 5th-year option.
Well, you can't do it that way. If he signs an extension, then the extension kicks in after his 4th season. So, you would have to wait until the 5th-year option year to then agree to the 5th-year option and then extend him on top of the 5th-year option. Yeah, they're not going to say we're 5th-year option and then you have team control for 8 years.
Well, it's still only going to overlap for a year.
So he has 2 more pure years on his rookie contract, right?
This year and next year?
Yeah, taking out the 5th-year
So
option.
then if they move on
next year and then the following year.
So
he has this is year 2.
When would his extension kick in? What year?
Oh God, now you're making me do math live on the air. So he's going into his 4th year next year, right?
22 is 23 draft, right?
23, 24, 25, 26. Yeah.
26 is the last year, so the extension would kick in 27.
Correct.
So that's the out
We're
year.
not good at math, and you're making me do it on the air.
You love the math. Carlton Davis, the 27-year on Carlton Davis's contract is the dumb year. That's the year you can get out of. You're not going to be paying both those guys at the same time.
Right.
After next year, after 2026, it's a real conversation.
Yes.
I don't think, first of all, there's a ton of dead cap if you do move on from Carlton Davis after this year. At least if you cut him, not if you trade him. But
no, they're in the Carlton Davis business through 2026, as they should be.
And I've seen people say, "Oh, it's an expensive secondary now. They got to do something." It didn't sneak up on them that they have an expensive secondary. They didn't inherit Gonzalez, but he's on a rookie contract. They signed Carlton Davis. They signed Marcus Jones. Maybe they want a high price secondary because they know they value talent back there. And we've talked a lot about how good they are at developing pass rushers, and we've seen the work that they've done with Kayvon Chason. Frankly, the work they've done with Milton Williams as a run player and how he's progressed. He's better than the player he was in Philly, and it's credit to him and it's credit to coaching staff. We'll see, hopefully, maybe some of these younger guys coming up, Caleb Murphy and Elijah Ponder and Braden Swinson at some point. But the Patriots kind of did this in reverse when they had Belichick here. They could develop the hell out of some cornerbacks. And so they put more draft resources. They put more financial resources into the front because, hey, we can go find Jonathan Jones, J.C. Jackson, Malcolm Butler. Now, there's obviously exceptions, right? Stephon Gilmore. But you build your team around your strengths and weaknesses. And they may look at it, and this is a little oversimplified, but they may look at it and say, hey, the guys we have coach in the front, and that's just something that clicks for us, and we can develop guys there better than we can in the secondary. So let's pump some money in the secondary, get set back there. And yeah, maybe we're not working with the same high price, high draft pick guys up front, but we know that we can identify and develop the talent to get more out of those guys than the average team would.
Well, it's just, but you have Milton Williams under a big contract.
Well, you do have Milton Williams under a big
contract. You have a Christian Barmore under a big contract. I wouldn't call Marcus Jones's contract big, but it's for the position. He's well paid now.
Yeah.
Once the extension kicks in, I just think that I'm a little bit on your station side of the street with Gonzalez. The Felger and Maz take of, is he here long term? Is he a Vrabel guy? Are they fully thrilled with him? I hope that all that dust kind of settles and they end up extending Gonzalez and making him one of the highest paid corners in football. But I'm not fully convinced yet that is 100% going to happen. And that's just my opinion. It's not anything else other than a take. But I hope that does happen. But we'll see.
I think
we'll see. And I don't think that has anything to do with Carlton Davis, by the way.
No, it doesn't. It's independent. I think we've had that question about a lot of players, and ultimately you can kind of draw a line. I think there are players that we identified as maybe not being Vrabel guys. The ones that performed are still here. Anthony Jennings played his way back onto this roster. He was not going to make the team at the start of camp. It just looked plain and simple. Then he was really good. The guys that aren't performing are not here. And I think yesterday is a perfect example of that with Keon White and Kyle Duggar. So they're in the business of keeping good football players. And you look at Marcus Jones, another guy, did not look like a fit. and just gets an extension. They're in the business of keeping good football players. Christian Gonzalez is a good football player.
Agreed. And he looked great against Cleveland. It's not a great wide receiver room. It's not a great quarterback.
How many guys that we kind of put in a box as not Vrabel guys are still here that aren't performing? Like,
I don't know. That's a tough question for me to answer.
You could say the one
Onwenu, maybe, on the offensive line.
He had a couple rough weeks, but he was good to start the year. The one I look at maybe is Stevenson with the fumbles, but they don't really have another option there.
Yeah, I'm not saying, again, I this is not informed at all. I am just telling you that I still think that prove it thing with Christian Gonzalez still exists. We know in the past that Vrabel hasn't been thrilled about soft tissue injuries and hamstrings, and that thing lingered and took a lot longer than it should have. Now he's starting to come back and look like Christian Gonzalez again. Certainly this last week, I think, was his best game so far. He's good against Buffalo too.
Yeah.
But I thought that this was his best week so far. So if he finishes the season like this, if he goes 9 games, then I think that we are talking about the extension.
This is my point. They're in the business of keeping good football players. If Gonzalez gives them a reason to keep them, they're going to keep them.
Agreed.
I think the one thing you look at, and this is big picture, is guys that because of their contract, because of their draft standing, because of, previous leadership or starting roles or whatever, guys that in a vacuum may have more of a leash to work through struggles on the average team don't under Mike Vrabel, because he's trying to get the program up and running, and he doesn't, he didn't draft him that high. He didn't sign him to that contract. He doesn't have that kind of allegiance to them. Those are the guys that you look at and, okay, is he not a Vrabel guy? Is he going to go? So if Gonzalez were to slip, that conversation comes into play. But like you said, he's been playing well, and if he keeps playing like this, just like Marcus Jones played well and not only hung around, got an extension, to a lesser extent, Anthony Jennings played well, kept himself on the team, and now is in a role where, they need him and is in kind of an important role for them. There
was a lot of weird...
I know what you're saying.
There was a lot of weird stuff with Gonzo when the hamstring thing was happening. I'm
just giving you the counter to it.
I understand. I just think that when we start to look down the road, and again, this isn't about salary cap space. It's not about any of that kind of stuff. It's just a business.
He wants the guys that he believes in.
Yes, but I'm just talking about the money. We saw this in Dallas with Micah Parsons. It's just a business. And when you're going to have to pay the quarterback probably the biggest contract in the history of the NFL, not before long, and then you're going to also make Gonzalez the highest paid corner in the league, and then you also have Milton Williams on a big contract, and you also have Christian Barmore on a big contract, this is the problem that good teams have. This is the problem that good teams have. The Chiefs ran into it. It's why they traded Tyreek Hill. This is a problem that good teams have. I don't want to get bogged down by this.
I will say real quick.
I want to talk Falcons, so quick.
Milton Williams' contract comes off the books by the time they pay Drake Maye.
Okay, I mean, again, Drake Maye is in year 2, so he's contract extension eligible a year from January. And then he's 4 years into his rookie contract. I don't want to do math on the air. But
his extension would hit
2028,
which is technically last year of Milton Williams' deal, but it's kind of a dummy year. There's no dead money on it.
Okay.
So at the very least, they could.
I'm not worried about the contracts with the salary. I'm worried about the cash. I'm worried about them having to dole out a probably $400 million contract to the quarterback.
By that point, Milton Williams is paid.
For the accounting of it, not for when they actually have to start writing them checks.
Right. They're not writing. I don't think they're writing Milton Williams big checks at that point, is what I'm saying.
But the guaranteed money is the guaranteed money. When he signs the deal, they have to actually put the money in escrow, and have to hold the money for Drake Maye.
And it'll have been paid at that point.
But, okay, I don't want to... It's semantics.
Yeah.
Really quickly on the Falcons. I can come to your side of the street for a second here with the Atlanta Falcons offense. I think it's... how do I put this politely? I think it's crazy that they're 28th in the league in scoring. 28th in the league in scoring.
Yeah, their roster's better than that.
With Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, a decent offensive line, not like a sieve of an offensive line.
They've had some injuries, but yes.
Caleb McGarry got hurt. That their starting right tackle's out for the year. That was big.
Yeah, they didn't have London missed last week and
Oh, sure. But
yeah.
this was happening before that. This was getting shut out by the Carolina Panthers way before any of these London and Penix injury issues started to pop up. Your boy Penix is not playing particularly well.
No, he's not. That's upsetting.
That's a part of it.
Does that offense make sense for him?
So this offense, to me, you're going to love this take. This is a social media offense. They do all these fancy motions and dipsy-doos and, we're going to have 4 receivers on one side of the formation and go 4 strong, and we're going to motion Bijan. He's going to start outside, then he's going to motion inside, then he's going to motion back outside, then he's going to motion into the pistol, and then we're going to hand him the ball. But then sometimes we're going to throw him a screen, and we're just doing all this different stuff. And all these defenses are just letting the Falcons offense go into a blender, and then they're just sorting it out after the snap, right? And they're just like, you're doing all this fancy stuff for no reason.
No wonder the Dolphins cooked them. They're used to seeing that in practice every day.
It's different. The Dolphins motion with a purpose.
Do that though?
Yes. Yes, the Dolphins and the Rams and the Niners, I can show you physical evidence of them motioning for purpose.
Okay.
This Falcons team...
The Niners, yes.
This Falcons team motions for fun. They motion because it's cool. And that, in my mind, is killing them. Along with the fact that every freaking time they line up in the pistol, they just run outside zone to the right.
I don't think they know how to use... So I'm a big fan of pistol. I think pistol's an underused concept in the NFL. I say that, and then everybody points to the Falcons and say, you really think that? Look what the Falcons are doing. I don't think they're using pistol correctly. First of all, you tell me this. Are they lining up too deep when they're in the pistol? It feels like Bijan's so far back.
I think the biggest issue with them in the pistol is that they run the ball 71% of the time out of the pistol. So it's just a dead giveaway what they're doing. And really all they do post-snap, they run outside zone and they run boot off of outside zone.
Yeah, they don't do a lot out of it.
They don't do a lot out of it.
Which the whole beauty of pistol is you get to run so many of the under center concepts that are taken away by having to be in the shotgun while still getting the view of the shotgun. You can run outside zone out of the shotgun.
So if I... two little things on that.
Yeah.
The fact that their quarterback isn't mobile is killing them. Because when you run the pistol, the biggest advantage I would say about running the pistol is running read option and RPOs and stuff like that out of the pistol, a la Lamar Jackson, right? That's the advantage of being in the pistol. Penix with his 2 knees isn't running anywhere. So therefore, you know what you're getting when they're in the pistol. They are awfully predictable out of the pistol. They don't go under center unless it's victory formation. They don't run anything from under center.
Which Penix is good under center, Washington.
Get the quarterback under center. I don't understand that. So their offense makes no sense. I like Zach Robinson. I think he's a bright guy.
Future Oklahoma State head coach.
He does a lot of creative things. He does a lot of bells and whistles that I can clip and put on social media and say, ooh, look at this. This is cool. It doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't lead to any production. I'm sorry I'm ranting on the Falcons offense. It just annoys me. It annoys me when you have talent and you do nothing with it.
I'm annoyed too. I wanted to see Michael Penix be good.
Frustrates me. Defensively, really quickly, because we have 2 minutes. It's good defense. Don't sleep on this defense. 10th in DVOA.
Good pass defense.
Number 1 pass defense in football in terms of yards allowed. Number 2 pass defense in football in terms of explosive plays allowed. So they don't give up very many big plays. They don't give up a lot of yards in the passing game. It's a strength-on-strength matchup.
They have not allowed more than 200 passing yards in a game this year.
Yeah, it's a big-time strength-on-strength. The most explosive or second most explosive passing offense in the league with the Patriots against the second least explosive pass defense in football. I really loved watching their defense and what they do schematically. It's basically Robert Saleh's Seattle 3, interpretation. A lot of cover 3, a lot of quarters. But then on third down and pass in obvious passing situations, and I tried to find the link. I can't. They just run a Brian Flores cover 0 package just out of nowhere on 3rd and 8. It's crazy. I don't know who learned it. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if they just copied it based off of studying it in the offseason. I can't find a connection between the 2 coaching staffs. But they're running a lot of fire zone pressure on third down where they're dropping 5 or 6 guys into coverage, but instead of playing man-to-man, they're playing zone out of those looks. I want nothing to do with that third down pressure package. This is an early down game for the Patriots offense. You can run the ball in Atlanta. That's their one weakness defensively. They're 24th or 20th, somewhere around there in the league in rush EPA. They're giving up a lot of yards to gap runs, downhill power, crack tosses, counter scheme, lead, duo, all that good stuff. So you can run the ball on them. That maybe can sequence some play action off the run. But the biggest thing I would say with this pass defense, this is a good pass defense. Like, you don't want to necessarily get into a lot of 3rd and longs against this Falcons team. They scheme up pressure at a really high level. They disguise coverage at a really high level. It was fun to watch this week. As frustrated as I was watching their offense, I was intrigued by their defense.
I will say they can be run on a little bit. So there is that.
That's it.
If they can get the run game going again. The one other split that's important, massive indoor-outdoor split for this Falcons team.
Yeah,
they've been
went to the shitter last week, but yeah, that was without Penix.
No, they've been bad outside. They've been good in. No, so
they played at home last week.
What?
They played at home last week.
Oh, they did play at home last week. You're
Yeah.
right. Well, they still haven't been good outdoors.
You can make it work without Penix, like with and without Penix.
With and without Penix. Yeah, they've not been a good outdoor team. Their one good road game was indoors.
All right, we got to wrap it up. I wish we had more time to vent about the Falcons offense, but we don't. We'll be back next week, talk about this Falcons game, talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a fun game too. So it's a little 2-game, little bit of better competition here for the Patriots over the next couple of weeks. PU will be live at noon. I'll see you guys then, and we'll see you guys next week here on Catch-22.
Hey, this is Alex. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.